Morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Virgo Triad here, and we are moving right along on our top 10 false fringe theories of 2018. We are on to number 7, and number 7 is on fire. And the reason for that is because this one's gonna make a lot of people feel like they're on fire. Number 7 is filing a UCC commercial lien a good way to enforce rights and tap in to your secret account. Most of you are well aware by now that the majority of people that are selling redemption theory packages with their false claims that you can tap into your secret account and set your status correct, and all of these different claims that literally are just complete and total hogwash are using the UCC1 financing statement. First, in order to debunk this theory, we are going to talk about what a commercial lien, or some people just call liens, actually are. The term commercial lien or just lien or UCC, the filing of a UCC1 financial statement, it's part of the laws of the UCC Article 9. In a state registry, you file this form as a notice of interest in collateral. Now, some of you might be familiar with such liens if you've ever financed a car or any other form of property that can be used as collateral. The financing statement lists the name of the secured party and the debtor. It includes a description of the collateral, or a lot of times we'll just simply refer to an object directly by the serial number, like a vehicle identification number, for example, that's found on automobiles. Now, the filing of the financing statement does not by itself establish a valid enforceable lien. It's basically just a reference that indicates that there might be a possible lien on that particular product or that particular piece of property. The actual legal right to enforce the lien comes up from a contract that's called a security agreement. Now, a security agreement is between two parties that are consenting. There must be two. The secured party creditor, which is the person who lent the money for the collateral or lent the money for something for what is being used as collateral, and the person who borrowed the money, who in this case is called the debtor. Now, a security agreement must be, as I said, consensual, in writing, and the collateral should be listed, and the intent of the debtor to grant the security interest should be very, very clear, and it must be signed by the debtor pursuant to the statute of frauds established by UCC 9-203B 3A. And the definition of authenticate must be followed in 9-102A7. Now, here's the thing that makes it really popular with the fringe groups that are selling these scam packages. Once you've filed the UCC1, whether there's a valid security agreement behind it or not, a financing statement serves as kind of like a warning to the public or potential creditors that there may be money or property owed by a debtor. This is likely to seriously affect the debtor's ability to obtain credit, especially when it appears a significant value is owed. Unfortunately, in the interest of expedient commerce, the process is open to abuse. And the reason why is that the legitimacy, obviously, it takes a while. It takes a while to document all of this information, to file it, and not every single person is going to be well versed in what is a necessity for UCCs to be filed properly. Eventually, it will get there. It will get there. They will notice if you file one that's fraudulent, if you file one that is not backed by a security agreement that is properly drafted with two parties and following the UCC code. However, in the forefront when you're just filing it for $8 to $10 at the Secretary of State. It's just being recorded at that point and has not had the opportunity to kind of circle in to where it would need to for people to be aware of it. The legitimacy of the security agreement is not verified by the state UCC offices before a financing statement is allowed to be filed, just to make sure that they're not sitting and looking at each individual piece of paper for 2 hours for each individual person filing. As these things get filed in multitudes of amounts all day, every single day. I mean, just look at how many cars are sold. That's just one example. As a result, these instruments have become popular with the fringe. And when I say the fringe, I'm talking about mainly the scam artists. The scam artists that fall under that sovereign citizen umbrella that I talk about in my new book. They try to use these to get revenge or obtain compensation for perceived trespasses against them. Now, here is where we fall into a very interesting hole with these, because there's a difference for people that are using them to go up against officials versus people that are using them to try to obtain this so-called secret account that doesn't exist. But there is also a really funny, ironic similarity that occurs here. And this is something that people that are filing these for what they think is putting them on the private side of things, and for what they think is assisting them in getting them access to be able to discharge debt. In reality, they're actually really harming themselves. And the reason why is because if a security agreement is not filed, it is still a warning to another creditor that may be looking to give you credit that there is an outstanding there's a possibility for an outstanding collateralized UCC financial statement that maybe doesn't have the backing of the security agreement yet, but it has been filed and is waiting for such. Therefore, they may look at you and say, hey, you're too close to your debt to income ratio. I don't think we're safe. We don't even know what this filing's about. Number 2, you have falsified a security agreement, such as what April Lejeune's packages ask you to do. You have made up your own security agreement that is not a document that is legitimately between two separate people. You have filed it along with a UCC1, and you have put an amount on that security agreement that has been filed with that UCC1. And now, when it is looked up, and they do look them up, that's why there's an online index in order to look up your UCC financial statements so that they can see as a creditor whether you are credit worthy to receive a loan from them. And you have put in a security agreement for $10 million. In essence, what you are telling your creditor is not that you're on the right side, not that you're on the private side. You're not telling the creditor that you are a free man or a free woman. You're telling the creditor that a UCC1 financial statement has been filed against you for $10 million. Ironic, isn't it? Not only is April Lejeune and others like her leading you down the hole of defrauding the government, defrauding your state departments by filing falsified and frivolous documents, but you're screwing yourself out of your own credit score and debt to income ratio. The second typical abuse process of this document is that a lot of people will use these on the fringe to attempt to try to harm someone else by making a claim falsely that they are owed money because they feel they have been damaged in some way. I'll give you an example. Not too long ago, I read an article out of Southern Poverty Law Center just to notify my subscribers of what was happening on the website. It happened to deal with a party that I talk about frequently. As a result of that, I was notified of an arrest warrant, false arrest warrant, that some group of individuals felt like they could put against me for reading the article, and within the article, it claimed that this party was a sovereign citizen. Instead of making the claim that I have freedom of speech, which is true, and saying that, hey, we'll go after Southern Poverty Law Center for writing it in their article, they decided that they were going to try to attack me instead. Of course, it means absolutely nothing, because their arrest warrant is not backed by anything. But regardless, after me contacting the FBI and the FBI getting rather irritated about it, and now it's an investigation. From that point forward, supposedly this arrest warrant was halted, and information was moved over to what they're calling the League of Human Interest or something of this support, or human, I can't even remember what they call it, but basically it gives them the right, they think, to attempt to try to charge me $750,000 for everything I'm found guilty of. That would be a case, for example, where someone would file a UCC financial statement against me in order to attempt to try to destroy my credit. Because then, of course, just like what these people are doing to themselves that I just explained, there are going to be creditors that would look up the UCC financial statements to see whether or not there are anything that is pending collateral against me at the moment, if there's a lien against anything that I own at the moment, and see what the debt to income ratio is. And if I don't qualify because of that $750,000 lien, they would be denying me and it would damage me. But this is what they're calling paper terrorism. And no matter what way you're using it, it's illegal. There are laws against filing false liens, and there are huge punishments now. One of the first states that actually put these laws together to punish those that were going after originally judges, lawyers, and people that worked for states and the federal government was Georgia. Now, the laws have been expanded to several other states, 27 that I am personally aware of, and the law has expanded everywhere to include not just those that are public officials, but also every other person in addition, which means if a false lien is filed against you, then that's exactly the same as a false lien being filed against Donald Trump. Georgia was one of the first states to enact a law to combat the scourge of false liens with a statute that mandates 1 to 10 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine for each false lien against a public official, or, of course, I said later extended to all parties. Various other states, of course, as I just mentioned, have laws to help combat fraudulent liens. Fraudulent laws are also available, such as 18 U.S.C. 1521 and 18 U.S.C. 287. There are multiple amounts of people that have gone to prison because of filing these liens. Now, these are not just filing liens against other parties. There are people that have gone to prison for filing false liens, period. Generally, if you file them against someone else for the purpose of malicious actions, there's a lot more time involved. But it matters not. Filing frivolous documents with the government, regardless of what entity you're filing it with, is illegal. You are attempting to defraud. These documents are not meant for the purpose that these gurus are selling them for, and that's why these laws have been enacted. Let me give you some names. Sharon Marie Phillips, 7 years in prison. Tyrone Eugene Jordan, 10 years in prison. Donna M. Kozik, 3 years in prison. Randall David Dew, 10 years in prison. David Carroll Stevenson, 10 years in prison. There are hundreds more, and most recently, Heather Antucci Giraffe and Randall Keith Bean both used UCC1s in an attempt to defraud. Not all of these parties actually defrauded in the same manner, and several have spent months in jail simply for filing fraudulent documents. It's not funny, and it's not a joke. The UCC1 financing statement is serious business. If you do not know what you're doing, regardless of if you're attempting to try to do something that a guru has told you, or if you're simply trying to save some money because you can't afford a business attorney to file the documents for you, you need to think twice. Filing a false UCC1 financing statement or a falsified document that goes along with it, such as a UCC3, or, for example, forging your own security agreement. These are very, very bad ideas, and they come with very heavy penalties. But regardless, this is our number 7, and I'm sure you can see why the number 7 was on fire. A whole lot of people that have purchased these packages are gonna be pissed when they hear this video. We've been warning you for almost a year now, and unfortunately, there's still some of you that just simply don't get it. You don't want to mess around with things that are actual documents that the government knows are being used fraudulently and to damage other people. Bad idea. All right, you guys, this is number 7. We'll come at you tomorrow with number 6. Take care.